the podcast to fill my brain. Movies and Task, Reddit, Minute of Sports, betting $1 and Joel the Game, Quora and questions from real listeners, all that and more on Joel the Podcast.
Bzz. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel.
Here we are. Welcome to episode 117. Wow, the Skype recording just now started. That takes a long time to start. Welcome to episode 117 of Joel the Podcast. We're happy to be here on another beautiful, sunny afternoon at Purdue University in the Physics Lounge, because that's where we record all of our podcasts.
We've been there all along.
Over Skype.
Yeah, Alex actually, since episode, I don't know, 30, 35 or so, has refused to look at me directly. And so we've been back to back.
I've built a wall between us.
Yeah.
There's an episode of SpongeBob, I don't even remember, where Squidward feeds SpongeBob a pie that he thinks has a bomb in it.
Yeah.
And he says, "Squidward, this is so nice. Just you, me, and this brick wall that you've built between us."
Yeah, so imagine that, except both
Nathan
of us ate a bomb.
Yeah, I was to say, which one of us is Squidward, which one of us is SpongeBob?
That's a great question.
Listeners, you decide. Send us an email. Awesome. Okay, so, yes, Joel the Podcast, episode 117. I feel like I was going to say something else, but I don't... Oh, it was about the dollar. So, last episode, I mentioned that Nathan owes me $1. And then we made a $1 bet last episode, and I do not remember what the outcome of that bet was. Do you remember?
All right, so at my own expense, I can tell you what happened here.
Yay.
So I listened back to the episode recently because it was related to the NCAA tournament, basketball tournament. Mm-hmm. We were betting which was the lowest seed that would win a game.
Yeah, so I did remember what the bet was. I just didn't remember what we each bet.
Yeah, so you bet that a 14 seed would be the lowest to win a game. And I bet that a 15 seed would be the lowest to win a game. And from the look on your face, I think you know the outcome here. Would you like to tell us what happened?
I obviously knew that Oakland was going to be the winning upset pick that I was predicting. That's definitely what and I also for sure 100% knew that Oakland was in Michigan and not California. So definitely all predicted on purpose by me 100%.
Yeah.
So yes. I obviously won the bet, so I will begin this episode. Well, not begin, but near the beginning, say that Nathan owes me $2.
Yeah, that is tragic. We're gonna have to find some way to continue making bets until we pull back even. Hopefully it doesn't turn out to be some kind of Joel the Game situation.
I mean, worst case, we could just double or nothing every single time. Eventually you'll have to win one, right? You probably, only have to make 10 bets before you owe me $1,000.
Yeah,
all right.
Some ludicrous amount of money that I owe you, and then you just refuse to. You just end the podcast. You're like, we're done.
You could just cover my entire time at your wedding weekend. That'll be fine.
Yeah. I almost asked you what amount of money would it take for you to end the podcast and never podcast again, but I don't want to know the answer.
That's an interesting question because see, the thing is, we've talked about what amount of money would it take for you to do X before, and I don't know if you remember this, but I don't care that much about money. I do care about money, but if it's something that's important to me, there's no amount of money that will I won't take if somebody asked me recently what amount of money would it take for you to leave the country and never come back, and I was like,
yeah,
I would not do that for any amount of money. Like, even if you gave me $1 billion, like, I don't want to leave behind everyone that I know and care about. So,
Sure.
but the podcast is interesting because, like, obviously I do care about the podcast, but I'm more interested in just like regularly talking to you. So, like,
Right.
that can still happen even outside the podcast. So there might be an amount of money that I would take to end the podcast, but it's hard. So it's hard to think about what that is, what that would be.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
if you, the listener, have been just waiting for your opportunity to spend any amount of money to get this to end, send us your best offer. And we'll
Yeah, send
consider
us your best offer and I'll consider it. See which it'll be like a bidding war because only one of us. You only have to get one of us to end the podcast for it to be over. So.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I was
which-
going to say whatever you have to pay. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to double it to get us to both stop. But yeah, that's absolutely not true.
All right. Let's not think about that anymore. I'm gonna pull up our time. I'm pulling up our timer here for our one sports minute. So
Great.
are you ready to talk about our sports minute?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, here we go. So recently the baseball season started, which is very exciting. Yeah, so far, I mean, I haven't been following the whole league, but the Phillies are doing mediocre.
Great.
So I can't really think of anything else that's going on in the sports world. What about you?
Is golf going on? When
You know what?
What's the golf season?
Golf is always going on, but actually the sport that I watched this past weekend was tennis. The Charleston Open in women's tennis was going on, and there were some really good games down there. I think the world #1 in women's tennis lost.
Wow.
So
yeah,
and then
actually can't believe I forgot about that because I was definitely watching it as well.
yeah, the Charleston Open, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
really loved how they swung those rackets,
yeah, pretty impressive. One weird thing. Well, I guess no weird thing.
That's all the time we have for the Sports Minute.
Yep.
What a great job we just did.
Thank you. Oh, also the basketball tournament, obviously. Purdue came in second. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is the part of the show where I say, do we have any emails this week?
And this is the part of the show where I brag about remembering to open the email before you ask me about it, and then I say, no, we didn't get any emails.
So was that you bragging about it, or are you just saying you were going to brag about it and now you're about to brag about it?
So, well, it would have been more fun to brag about it if I could then, immediately launch into an email, right? But, we didn't, since we didn't get any... I still do want to, give myself credit.
Right.
Not too much credit, because I didn't, have it open from the start. I definitely opened it
So
while
to
you
be
were
clear,
talking
this
about,
is now you bragging, right?
Yeah, this is bragging.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I opened it while you were... it was before the Sports Minute, for sure. I think you were I already forget what we were talking about before the Sports Minute. It was the bets. We were talking about the bets.
Right.
And I opened it while we were talking about the bets. Noticed at that point that we didn't have any emails, so hopefully you haven't been listening to me wondering why does he sound so disappointed? Where's the energy that we pay all this money for? No, wait, that's what we were talking about. How much money would it cost for us to stop doing the podcast?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to me for opening the email, and the opposite of congratulations to all the listeners who didn't send us emails this week.
Big L.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to... Go ahead.
I'm almost certain this wasn't about me, but I think I just heard Shelby laughing from the other room.
You didn't even just say anything funny, so...
Ouch.
No, I just mean just now. I don't mean that you haven't said anything funny. You were just talking
Ooh,
about...
roasted.
You were just talking about how we have no emails. She's
Maybe
laughing
she
because we have no
secretly
emails.
Delights in the... Yeah.
Yeah. She actually logged into the email and deleted them. She's been doing it for months.
Let me check the trash real quick. Wait a minute, there are thousands of emails in here. We've
No.
had tons of listeners all along.
She's too crafty. She would remove them from the trash.
She would. I didn't give her enough credit there.
Yeah.
She's 3 steps ahead of me here.
Anyway, if you would like to correct this for next week and send us an email, and especially telling Nathan how funny he is, you can go to our website, alexandalex at joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex at joelthepodcast.podcast.website/index.html. And you can click on something there to send us an email. I gotta say, it was really one of the most embarrassing moments of my life when I put my bio on your wedding website and then I got our email or our website wrong. After how many times I've said it, I should definitely not get it wrong, but I did.
Yeah, that's about. I think almost as bad as that is the fact that I definitely read it at least once before. Like when you sent it, I read it. When we were about to put it on the website, I read it. And I just didn't notice either, so I guess you can't feel too bad. But
well, the thing is, when you're reading, that's kind of the kind of thing you skip over. Like you see, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's the website. You don't now actually read. Like when we read words, we don't read the whole words. We just read enough until we know what word it is.
Yeah, so, you're right. I don't feel bad anymore.
Good job.
We were talking with Shelby's parents over the weekend. We were down there, and I forget how it came up, but I don't forget how it came up. Shelby's cousin, we were having brunch with Shelby's cousin, and she told us that she was planning to start a podcast. And Shelby says, there's another person here who has a podcast, and I think this might be how Shelby's parents found out that we were making a podcast. So I expect they're listening now that they know. So they're probably listening to this episode. So, hey, how's it going?
What are their names?
Beth and Blair.
Okay, way to dox them on the internet. Hi, Beth and Blair.
Welcome
to Joel the Podcast. Welcome to Joel the Podcast. We're happy to have you. Please send us an email reprimanding Nathan for doxing you. If you want, you're the editor. If you want, you can go back and just bleep their names out every time we said them.
Yeah, I might. That'd be pretty funny.
I'm just going to say that their names a lot now so to give you more work. Beth and Blair, Beth and Blair, Beth and Blair.
No, you got to sneak it in like 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Because otherwise you could just bleep that whole part out and it's easy. Yeah. It's going to sound like I'm really cursing really badly. What the Beth?
Oh, man. Wow, the lengths we go to when no one sends us an email, and we need to pad time anyway.
Yep. All right, should we move into the main episode here?
Yeah, let's do it. What are we up to this week?
So we're making a top 10 list, and I want to provide another top 10 list, and I want to provide a little bit of context behind this. So our top 10 list this week is top 10 chess pieces. So I've recently been in a big YouTube chess binge, and actually Nathan was 45 minutes late in calling me for this Skype session tonight, so I just started playing a game of chess, and then literally, I'm not exaggerating, 5 seconds into the game he called me. So he watched me play a game of chess. So this inspired this list tonight, our top 10 chess pieces. Now I know what you're thinking. Joel, the podcast, Alex and Alex, Nathan and Alex. There aren't 10 chess pieces. How are you going to have a top 10 list of chess pieces? And to that I would say you underestimate us.
Yes, and the game of chess, as it were. So,
and because obviously every single chess piece we're about to say is a real chess piece in the game of chess for real.
Yeah.
So you're going to be quite surprised when you find out some of them are lesser well-known pieces. I will say that.
Yeah, this'll be good. This will be hopefully enlightening for those of you. I'm curious. I actually don't know if any of our listeners actually play chess or know much about chess.
Right.
So hopefully either you do enjoy chess and this is a fun time for you, or you learn something, which would be equally nice.
Do you have any generic chess comments before we just hop right into the list here?
Well, I'll give you a quick background of my life in chess. Very
No,
brief.
just my life.
Let me just tell you my life story real quick.
First, I was born.
It all began in 1996.
I played my first game of chess in the womb.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So I learned how to play chess from my grandpa, who played with me when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old or something like that. Must have been. Don't remember exactly when this was. But obviously, since I was a child and he was an adult, he was just like ridiculously outmatched me, and he would, not give me, advice or whatever, like during the game. But if I would like make a bad move, and he'd be like, "Are you sure about that?" Like how you would kind of nudge a child to make better decisions. And I would say, yeah, that was my introduction to chess. I really enjoy the game overall. I think I've had a rant before on the podcast actually about how I've played chess for a while and I'm still kind of mediocre at it, and that's not really that fair. But such is the world of chess, and that's I think all I have to say about it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at chess. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. All right. Let's hop right into it then. If you don't know anything about chess, I will say first of all, like if you don't know anything about the pieces, this top 10 list may not be for you. I would go and find out what all the pieces do first, and then come back and listen to this episode.
Absolutely.
So otherwise, to fully appreciate the episode, you really, really have to get into it. I guess we didn't really plan like what order we were gonna, like obviously 10 to 1, but I mean like who was gonna say which one and when we were gonna do the honorable mentions.
Yeah, we did a pretty good job of that in episode 112. Maybe we can follow that pattern of numbers, but with the 117 things. What if we just like have a really boring section of the podcast here for like 2 minutes while we format our document better?
I mean, there's really only two things we need. I mean, we always put the honorable mentions in the same spots. So this is here, and yeah, edit this all out. Yeah, you got that there. So, and then we had just the only other thing we have to figure out is who's going to go first.
So we should do A. How's that?
Well done. All right. Let's get into it. Either you just listen to that entire exchange, or Nathan edited it out. I hope he edited it out, but probably not.
Here's the thing. If it's just that, there's no chance I'm going to edit it out. But if we think of a fun bit that I could do, maybe I'll think it's fun enough to like put the effort in.
What do you mean a fun bit that you could do?
So like, let's say instead of that section of just audio of us describing our document and the changes we're making, we said like, oh, and instead of that, we're going to edit in like the like a commercial for the podcast or something.
Are you tired of waking up and not having a purpose in life? Well, look no further than Joel the Podcast. Okay.
Great.
If we think of anything, you can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you are going to come in and bleep out the names, you may as well just get rid of that section because it's pretty boring. All right. Let's jump right into it. You spent 5 minutes setting it up. The number 10 chess piece, I think no one is going to be surprised here, is Pawn. So now you may be wondering, why did Pawn even make the list? Like, there's probably 10 better chess pieces than a Pawn. But here's what I will say. First of all, pawns have very interesting movements. Like pretty much every other chess piece moves in with one rule. Like bishop can move diagonal, right? The pawn moves one space forward, except if it's the first move, it can move two spaces forward, and it can only capture diagonally. And if there's this weird en passant rule, if you don't know what that is, then it's not that important. But it's like a weird rule it's a weird rule that pawns can do. So they do have some interesting qualities, and then the other great thing about pawns is that they're basically worthless. So they can attack without you like much risk of losing anything.
Yeah.
They're not worthless, but they are of low value. So the fact that they're low value can make them of high value, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You have any comments about pawns?
Yeah, I was thinking while you were describing what they could do, how weird it is that they move forward, but they capture diagonally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, why did they do that? But then as I kind of thought about it, wouldn't it just be kind of ludicrous if a pawn could just continually scoot forward, taking everything in its path?
It would kind of break the game, I think.
It'd be so ridiculous. Like, pawns would be overpowered. You would just move the line of pawns forward, and that would be the entire game. So
I wonder how the game would change if it was reversed, where pawns could only move normal diagonally and capture forward.
Interesting.
They couldn't really. They could be. It would be much harder to block them if that were the case.
Yeah, that's because they would have two ways to move.
Right.
So you'd have to block them both ways, but they could only capture forward. So like, you would have more free space because there's only one space they're attacking.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of funny. Maybe it's not that funny if I say it's kind of funny, but I was thinking as you were talking about like, what if this was how it was? I was thinking like, yeah, I bet you could like, program that up and stuff. And then I thought like, well, or you could just like get a physical chessboard and then just move the pieces however you want because, yeah. So it is kind of interesting to me, I guess, how much I think of chess as like being an online game, but maybe that's just because I have nobody in person to play chess with.
Mm-hmm.
Despite
Shelby's
that
not a
being
big chess player.
My origin story, as you heard a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. So
cool. Any other thoughts about pawns?
No, I think 10's a good spot for it. Pretty simple.
Yeah, can't really go much higher, but like there's really not that much that you could put ahead of it.
Well, there's 9 things, but
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't you move on to number 9?
Yeah, speaking of 9 things, here's another one of them. Nailed it.
Sort of.
Number 9 is the bishop, but only the bottom half. So you know how the bishop is kind of like 2 parts? There's a top part and a bottom part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're talking about the bottom part here. And to me, that's kind of like the crucial part of the bishop, I'll say. Like without the bottom part, what would the bishop be?
Just the top part.
Just the top, yeah. Well,
yeah, I feel like the bottom part is what gives the bit like, bishop moves diagonally. The bottom part is what moves it diagonally. Like that is the identity of the bottom half of the bishop.
Yeah, very diagonal. I just heard Shelby laugh again, by the way, so I'm almost certain it wasn't about us earlier because you were the one that was talking this time and she can't hear you.
Yeah, she can't hear me, so
yeah.
Maybe she was just laughing because she was just imagining what I was saying.
Maybe it took her a little bit to get the bottom half of the bishop joke. Maybe she's on a little bit of a delay in there.
Maybe she can explain it to me because I don't get it either.
But yeah, it's a great point. I feel like the bottom half of the bishop really is what I think about when I think about diagonal. And I think the bottom half of the bishop being very similar to, if you know about chess, the bottom half of the queen. And the queen can also move diagonally.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so
let me... Go ahead.
It really like the essence of, let's say, diagonality really encompassed by the bottom half of the bishop.
Very true, very true. What would you, if you like imagine just the bottom half of a bishop, what would you say that looks like? Like, what does it make you think of in terms of like what it is?
Yeah. So let's say if you took a pawn and then made it a little bit like fatter on top, because a lot of pawns, this is probably not true of every pawn, right? But a lot of pawns are round on top. So if instead of being round, it was more like cylindrical on top, but it still looked like a pawn on the rest of it. That's kind of what I think of as the bottom half of the bishop.
So the bishop has like the circular base, right? Then it kind of like curves inward.
Yeah.
To be like thinner, and then a little bit out, and then there's like a disc, right? And then there's the top part.
Oh, so are you saying like where exactly on that?
Well, first, that's my next question is: do you include the disc as part of one of the halves? Is that a third part?
Yeah.
Or what's your opinion on the disc division? Scholars are divided.
Yeah, so I mean, chess purists probably say that the disc is a separate piece of the bishop entirely. It's not the top half or the bottom half. If you look at it from a more practical standpoint, I would say that the disc maybe belongs to the top half of the bishop more so than the bottom half. If you're thinking about it kind of logically in terms of like what kind of has that diagonal essence. But I like to look at it in a really, literal sense and just kind of slice right through that disc, right down the middle.
Okay, so each includes half the disc.
Yes. In my personal, chess bishop canon,
Right.
Everyone, of course, has their own interpretation.
You're not a grandmaster, but this is your chess advice.
Right. I'm not a grandmaster, and this is not chess. Chess? This does not carry the legal weight of authority of the chess world.
I'm just imagining that, like, once you become a grandmaster, you can make chess declarations. Like,
you just make
the disc is now part of the top half of the bishop, and it's just that's law now. That's chess law.
No, they only let you do that if you become the world champion.
Got it. Only one person can do that.
Yep. So I'm not a grandmaster, and this is not theory, but the disc is split cleanly down the middle between the top and bottom of the bishop.
Okay, so but that I would say that drastically changes what the bottom half of the bishop looks like to be including half of the disc.
You're right. So yeah, everything I said earlier is wrong now that we've established this. I think that was a more traditionalist view.
Right. So now that you've decided on this split, what would you say that the bottom half looks like?
Yeah, I'd say it looks exactly like what I was describing before, but with like half a disc on top.
Wow, that is an incredibly apt description, I feel like.
I'm not sure if you were like coaching me towards an answer. Is there something you were trying to get at there?
I was really not, to get like from my perspective, I feel like I was not including the disc when I was thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
Like the bottom half of the bishop is kind of formless, so I was just curious what you would say when I asked you what it looked like.
Yeah, so
to me, if you include, go ahead.
It was really just like a philosophical question.
Well, I was hoping you would come up with something funny.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For me, like I feel like once you add the disc, it kind of reminds me of like a mushroom, right? Like the stem and then like a flatter. And mushrooms are a little bit more round, but kind of top.
All right.
So not sure what that means philosophically, but that's what it makes me think of.
Here's what came to mind, and let's stick with kind of the traditional view where no disc is included in the bottom half of the bishop. But if you imagine, like,
they did not include the disc. It's only recently that we've had disc enthusiasts trying to add that on to the bottom half. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So if you imagine like a soft serve ice cream cone, right? And you take
like
the cone.
Wait, like a sugar cone or like a cake cone?
A cake cone, definitely a cake cone.
Or a waffle cone. Okay.
Specifically cake cone for this visualization. So you have soft serve ice cream and a cake cone, and you take the cake cone off of the bottom of the ice cream, turn it upside down, and then put it back together. And that's what a bishop looks like.
Wow. My mind was just blown.
Okay, I couldn't tell from the look on your face if you were experiencing an entirely new reality or if you just had no clue what I was talking about.
No, well, at first I was very taken aback when you said to take the cone away from the ice cream. And I'm like, okay, so you're just holding this ice cream with your bare hands, especially if sauce served. That's not gonna go well. But once you gave the full explanation, and I kind of moved past the practical reality of trying to actually do that in real life,
Yeah.
I was able to really expand my that visual really expanded my view. I'm not really sure how my view is expanded, but it just feels more expansive now that I've seen that image in my mind.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I hope the listeners have that same experience.
I hope they do. I can't imagine anyone could listen to what you just said and not have that experience.
And just think, that was only number 9. There's way more to come.
We've literally spent like 10 minutes talking about the bottom half of a bishop, so get ready, folks. Strap in.
Yeah, this is great.
All right, let's go on to number 8. Number 8 chess piece is the Squire. Okay, so not a lot of people know about the Squire, and the main reason for this, I would say, is probably because I just made it up as we were coming up with this top 10 list.
Yeah.
So it's a much less well-known piece. But for those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows, but in case you forgot, the way a squire moves is it's like a pawn, but it can also move like so it can move in any direction, any cardinal direction, forward, backwards, left or right, one space, and it can take in any diagonal direction.
Oh. You said that earlier. And I just thought it could go in any direction, and then I guess it would take in any direction. But that makes a lot more sense.
Right, I said it a little differently. I didn't actually go into detail earlier.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was just like, it was a pawn, but can move in any direction. That's what I said. So now I'm providing a little bit more information. So it's like a pawn, but a little bit more versatile. Now the next thing that I'm thinking about as I describe the Squire is whether a Squire would be able to promote by reaching the end of a board. It can promote, but only into a knight.
Only into knight, yeah. I like it. So here's the crazy thought that came to mind, because I actually really like this idea of a pawn that can just kind of like move in all 4 directions and then take in the other 4, right? The diagonals.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what if you just designate one of your pawns to be the squire, and you also don't tell your opponent before the game? And then it's based on like the honor code, right? Or maybe there's some designation to where you can like prove it afterwards or whatever. But just like imagine playing a game where like all of the pawns, are potentially this like secret sneaky squire. And I'm just imagining some like dramatic moment where you like, move your queen and you're like checkmate, and then your opponent's just like not quite. Bam. Squired.
Yeah. That's funny. I don't know, I was going to say something and now I forgot. I just imagine so obviously your squire would be able to move 2 spaces for its first move still, and I'm trying to think of a situation where your first squire move is like 2 spaces left or something like that. Obviously you'd have to move your other pawns out of the way.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Wow, I unintentionally created something amazing here, so first of all, you're welcome. Anyway.
When they release Chess 3, don't be surprised if they include the Squire.
Just out of curiosity, have they released Chess 2?
I keep seeing stuff about it. Maybe it's just memes.
Chess 2.
Chess 2 is on Steam.
What is it?
This quote is more like chess than chess.
So there's interesting, while you're looking at that, there are interesting chess variants out there. One really, really interesting chess variant that I've seen, which maybe would be kind of interesting for you and I to play a game of it after this.
Uh-huh.
It's called Fog of War chess.
Okay.
So it's chess, but you can't. The only spaces on the board that you can see are spaces that your pieces can move to.
Interesting.
So you can't see where your opponent's pieces are unless you can like take them, essentially.
That sounds really
And
difficult.
and the really interesting thing is that you aren't guaranteed to be able to see checks on your king.
Uh-huh.
So it's possible that you could just move your king into check and lose the game. Like the game doesn't prevent you from doing that. And
Wow.
it's possible that like your king could be put into check and you not know it, and then your opponent just takes your king and wins the game.
Yeah, we should definitely play a game of that afterwards. That sounds like fun. And if we manage to continue recording, that might be a fun like bonus podcast feature or something that we can put out.
Yeah, the problem is like if you're like not visually like talking about what your board is, you're giving away information to your opponent. So it wouldn't really be a great podcast feature. But anyway, I recommend everyone go watch Hikaru Nakamura play, because he's so good at chess that he basically calculates what his opponent's board looks like from like just the few like glimpses that he gets of their pieces.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm sure we're basically as good as him, so
Yeah,
should be
we're
very
pretty much.
entertaining
I
to
mean, we
watch
did
us
say
play.
that we're not grandmasters.
Yeah. Not yet, anyway. Not officially
Yeah.
recognized, but
Yes. All right, let's move on from number 8 Squire to your honorable mention for chess piece. What is your honorable mention for top 10 chess piece?
yeah. So I know a lot of you are going to be, very surprised that this is just an honorable mention, but I got to be honest with you, it's not really a great chess piece overall. It's more one of those like, you got to recognize it for the love of the game, but if you're honest with yourself, it really can't crack the top 10. And this is, of course, The Entire Earth. So, I mean, it's just so difficult to manage,
Yeah, sad to see The Entire Earth drop out of the top 10 in a category. I feel like it's been in the top 10 in almost all the categories we've done so far.
Yeah.
To this point.
Real shame. Hope it can learn from this experience, but yeah,
Hope it can learn from this experience. Me too. I'll be praying for it.
Yep. No, not enough to crack the top 10 in this case. Yeah, just ever since they introduced the Squire, man, that was a revolution, and the entire Earth just really hasn't been up to par since then.
Let me ask you something. What makes you like The Entire Earth enough to want to make this your honorable mention?
Sure. I mean, I'm just a big chess history nerd. I've been there since the beginning. Back when it was still
Back when it was just called Hess.
Yeah, Hess. Before the C. Yeah. That was when
only the real ones know that. The real OGs.
Yeah, and that's Hess with one S, by the way. Few of you out there know what I'm talking about, but yeah, it's just one of the OGs. You can't really deny its influence on the game in its later millennia. So, yeah, The Entire Earth, really inspirational every time I'm feeling really bad about myself after a catastrophic blunder. I just think, well, could be worse.
Could be worse. I could be the entire Earth. Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go.
Well, thank you for bringing us The Entire Earth.
Yep.
I'm going to head over to number 7. Number 7, we kind of head back to the more classical pieces of chess with the knight. Excuse me. The knight is a really great piece. So first of all, I just want to say some people call the knight a horse, or a horsey. I've literally heard it called a horsey, which is just infuriating. It's called a knight, okay? That is the name of the piece. Even though it looks like it's just a horse, it's actually a knight.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a really cool piece. It moves in a very unique way that no other piece can move in, even including the queen. So that part's really cool, which allows you to make interesting attacks and moves. And yeah, so and it can jump over other pieces like a horse, but it's not a horse; it's a knight.
I think that's really one of the most underrated features of a knight. You know,
right? Like, without that feature, the only legal first moves would all be pawn moves. But the fact that
or squire moves, of course.
Right. Well, that was just invented, so
yeah. As of now, just pawn or squire moves.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure no one has thought of that before. So I would say the knight really especially spices up the openings that are possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Any comments about the knight?
Yeah, I find it so interesting, actually. Most chess pieces are kind of like symmetric along an axis, which makes it easy to think about, like, okay, I know how this piece was, like, maybe carved from wood or something on a lathe, for example. But a knight has, you know, like, it's symmetric, but only along a plane, so you can't spin it on a lathe or something to carve it down. If you think about it, if you're talking about, like, a handmade chess set or something like that, which, you know, lots of sets are you know, handmade or even just like wood or something, to where you can't like injection mold it in plastic. There's got to be some kind of, you know, craftsmanship there. It's just really impressive to me how all of those, you know, kind of fine details are created.
Yeah, and it also really allows for some intricate, like, possible, like, knight carvings.
Yeah.
To be out there.
Yeah, I have the chess set that I own that was given to me as a gift. I believe I haven't looked at it recently, because as we were saying, I don't actually have someone to play chess with in person. But I'm pretty sure my knights have ears, which is interesting. That's like a lot of, it's not like intricate detail, but just a lot of like little touches to the piece, and it's just, I think, let me just say this. More pieces should have ears.
Yeah, so I want to share my screen here, because the standard online graphic for knights includes ears. So let me see if I can go backwards in this game until there's a knight in here. No, still no. There we go. Oh, this isn't even the right graphic, but it kind of makes it look like the horse, which is it's a knight piece, but the horse image is like a unicorn almost.
Like a really stubby horn unicorn, yeah.
Exactly. And if I can pull up, I don't actually know if I can find it, but these are fancy horse. Here, this is the one that I'm thinking of. So these, I don't know how easily you can see it. These knights have like 2 ears.
Oh, wow. That's even more unicorny.
Exactly. That's what I always think of when I see it. It's like, wow, the left further ear really just looks like a horn.
Yeah. Also, let's just I know our listeners can't see this, but if you look up so for reference, if you're curious to see, look up what the lichess.org chess pieces look like. But I just want to comment on, all that stuff we were saying about the bottom half of the bishop. The bottom half of these bishops is like completely different.
Well, okay, to be clear, the online images are just meant to be the unique parts of the piece. And so for the bottom half of a bishop is like the non-unique part of a bishop. Like it looks like the same as a queen or a little taller than a pawn or whatever.
So I was not paying attention at all. What do the chess.com bishops look like? They look what I would expect?
They just look like the actual piece. They have the
Yeah,
disc and
okay.
up. By the way, interesting philosophical thing there.
Strong
But
commitment from chess.com to claim
so
that's...
for the record, the image that I'm showing you here, I think these are custom graphics.
Okay.
Lichess Forum, Lichess Feedback wanting to share custom Lichess graphics.
Okay.
But I think that this bishop, and maybe we'll talk about it later. Actually, maybe we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about that later. All right.
Sure.
Okay, I need to stop sharing this. Anyway, that is knight. Any other comments about knight?
Well, not about a knight, but I also just noticed on that screenshot you were sharing that the time control said like 3 days. That's pretty crazy. Oh, and you know what? That reminds me of another story I want to share about chess real quick while we're in between. So I guess my answer is no, I don't really have anything else to say about the knight, but I do have some other stuff to say. Here it is, starting
Great.
saying it now. I don't know about recently. Within the past year, let's say, I was like, you know what? I want to play a game of chess online, which I don't do very frequently. And I was like, I just want to like, fool around. I'm kind of bored, whatever. But I didn't want to do something where I would be like committed to a certain time frame. So the chess, websites have options where you can have the time controls over like a course of a matter of days or whatever, right? Instead of, like maybe a 10-minute game or a 5-minute game or whatever, where each player only has a few minutes on their clock. So I started a game with the time limit of like 1 day per move. And I was like, okay, just like casually over the course of like the next few days or something, I'll just like play whenever I feel like it, against whoever, and we'll just like have a very casual time. And so I make a move, and then like as I'm putting my phone away, I notice that my opponent makes a move, and then like a little while later I go back to the app and it's like, you have won the game because your opponent has abandoned it. And I like look in the little chat log because you can talk between the players, and the guy had said to me something like, hey, move, what are you doing, idiot? And then he resigned. So I was like, I guess he
didn't realize
just like,
that it was like 1 day.
yeah, it's like he didn't want to like have a time limit, but he also wanted to play really fast or something. So I don't know. If you're that guy listening, I mean, come on, man.
Let us know why what your mindset going into that game was.
Yeah. Cool. End of story. Let's continue.
Good story. Why don't you take us to the next? So we just did number 7. Take us to number 6.
Yeah, number 6. We're gonna go off in a completely different direction. Number 6 is going to be the horse, and now, I feel like the horse doesn't really get a lot of respect in the chess circles. I feel like a lot of people really look down on the horse. It's pretty neat what it can do. It can move kind of different. I guess it can kind of like jump over pieces and stuff too. That's pretty cool. I don't. What do you think about the horse? How do you feel about the horse?
The horse is such a cute looking piece. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a little horsey, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel so bad whenever my opponent kills my horsies.
It is really a shame when you lose your horsies. They are, I feel like the pieces that you get most emotionally invested in.
I actually name my horses every game.
Yeah?
They're all Joel.
Walked into that one.
Checkmate, atheists. Okay.
What a great chess joke.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of neat that there's like, all the pieces on a chessboard kind of like look like different shapes and stuff, I guess. I don't know. But then there's just a horse. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Definitely agree. Number 6, horse.
Yeah.
And honestly, the fact that we're putting horse at number 6 really tells you how strong the second half of this list is going to be.
For sure.
Cool. Any other comments about horse?
I don't think so. It's pretty cool. The only thing I think I would like to see more of in horses, and it would make the game a bit more confusing. It is a bit of a bummer that the horses are only white or black, when in reality, of course, there are lots of different colors of horses.
You need a custom chess set with like real horse colors.
For sure. That would be kind of the peak luxury.
I actually think that I just need a custom chess set where all the pieces are horses.
Yeah, that'd be.
Who even wants
nice.
any of these other crappy pieces?
Yeah, or even a custom chess set with all custom colors. Each piece is whatever color you want it to be. That'd be pretty cool too.
That probably doesn't exist. That's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I think I have to stop thinking about that because otherwise I'm going to get my hopes up. All right. Moving on to number 5 on our list of top 10 chess pieces, we have the board itself. Now you're probably thinking like, Alex, the board isn't a piece. Why are you saying the board is the 5th best piece? If you think that, then I don't have anything to say to you. If you have to ask, then you don't know. The board is really just the soul of any chess game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the neutrality of the board is really what strikes me. Like, you have the same number of white spaces as black spaces. Any of the pieces can move on any space. Like, the board doesn't choose sides.
Right.
The board doesn't help one side or the other. So really, I just think the board is such an underrated chess piece, and really, really makes the game of chess, happen in a sense.
Yeah, I mean the composure it must have to just sit there and watch every game. So I just imagine, just think of like the most dramatic chess games you've ever seen, and the board's been there, and it's been doing its job flawlessly in every single game.
Incredible. Yeah. And I am ashamed to admit this, but one other thing that I do want to mention when we're talking about the board is that I don't actually know. Like, if you just gave me a chessboard with no orientation or anything like that, I don't think that I would know which way it goes. Like, there's 2 different orientations with either a black square in the bottom left or a white square in the bottom left. And not that it affects the game, obviously, but I don't know what like the official correct orientation of a chessboard is.
Yeah. What I'm finding interesting right now is that I absolutely know what the correct orientation is, but I'm having to like think really hard about whether, let's say the bottom left square, like A1, right? Whether that's a white square or a dark square.
So when you say you absolutely know the correct orientation, what do you even mean by that?
Like, if you gave me a chessboard, I could point it the correct way. But
well, let's think about this. Does the white queen go on a white space or a dark space?
The white queen goes on a light square, which means...
Right, and that's 4, right? So that means that the dark square is the bottom left.
So yeah. I mean, we got there, right? But I didn't just know that. Maybe that's not that
teamwork.
Weird. But yeah, I do know it solely because of how the queens go.
There you go. All right. Well, any comments about the board? Any other comments about the board?
Yeah, I'll just say, we were praising the knight about how, interestingly it can be crafted, and I think the board really takes it to a whole nother level. Like, I've seen some really, really classy boards out there, some really, really cool stuff, and sometimes fancy pieces can look like too flashy, too fancy, like something that I wouldn't actually want to play with. But
right.
I don't know that there's ever been a board that's been crafted too ostentatiously to support a game.
And to be clear, the board is also a piece.
Of course.
We're just saying the other pieces.
The other
can
pieces.
Be crafted too.
It's like how when like chess players say piece, they mean like pieces except for pawns. I'm doing that, but the opposite, where I'm meaning piece as in. Wait, how did I say that? I guess pieces and pawns are pieces, but not the board piece.
When you said piece, you were excluding the boards. You meant pieces other than the board.
Right. So I was doing the same thing that everybody does, but different is what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And I'm sure everyone understood that. It's probably just like a dumb for me to clarify
Yeah, I mean,
what you
some
meant.
of our listeners out there might be, chess amateurs unlike ourselves. So,
Right.
it
And
does
I mean,
help
we're
to...
not grandmasters, but we are extremely good at chess and experts.
Right.
And we could beat Stockfish. So,
Yes.
all right. Do you want to move us on to number 4?
Sure. And actually, before I get into number 4, you just mentioned Stockfish, and I feel like we really missed an opportunity to have Stockfish be on our list here. But, maybe it is a little unfair.
We're not revealing that Stockfish is not on our list here. Maybe Stockfish is on our list here.
Yeah. What a bit
No,
that
you're
would
right.
be.
Yeah, no, it's too late. We admitted it. Yeah, Stockfish is not. For those of you who don't know, Stockfish is a chess computer program, and it's way better than any human at
Except
chess.
for us.
Except for us, right? Because I just said we could beat Stockfish,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, that brings us to number 4. Number 4 on our list is the bishop, but only the top half. Yeah. So we're talking the soft serve, baby. That nice squishy
Right.
handful.
So going back to this custom Lichess thing that we were looking at earlier. Again, our listeners cannot see it.
Yeah.
So this is not great to talk about, but I don't know how many people know this, but the standard chess piece of a bishop is stylized to be, or it's supposed to be like the bishop hat, which is called a mitre. Which I don't know if you've never seen one before. Go look up a mitre, and you'll see like why a bishop looks like it does. But this graphic right here on this image is clearly just the mitre. Like that's what they used for the bishop. So, a mitre actually has two I don't know what the right word is, like pieces of fabric coming down from the back.
So that's like an actual part of the hat?
Yeah, it's an actual part of the hat. So that's what this graphic is like. Earlier you mentioned that the bottom half of this bishop looks kind of weird. I think it's just that they have those two, flaps is not the right word. I don't really know what to call them.
Yeah.
Pieces of fabric.
Yeah.
Coming off of the hat like they are in real life.
I see. So it's not like some kind of wiggly flared base. It's like displaying some fabric. So I've got a question for you, and hopefully you know the answer because I'm pretty confused here. How do you spell mitre? Because I just Googled
MITRE.
RE. I see. I just Googled mitre, and I got a lot of images of saws and angled pieces of wood. But if I go ahead and switch the R and the E, there we go. Now I get a lot of hats and apparently National Security Advisory Board magazine.
Their advisory board magazine is called the Mitre. That's the name of their magazine.
Yeah, what is this? So MITRE is an organization of some kind that established the Center for Technology and National Security Advisory Board. But what is MITRE?
Okay, it's probably not that important.
Okay. Whatever. Now we know how to spell the hat, and I do in fact see those like fabric. That makes sense.
Tassels, maybe? They're not really tassels.
Tassels? Yeah, I don't know. What are mitre tails called?
Oh, tails. That's a good term.
And I need to switch off the images tab, of course. Two fringed streamers known as lappets
streamers
hang from the back.
Lappets?
Lappets.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you learn something new every day, I guess.
Yeah. So now when you look at the chess piece on the website there, you can freak your opponent out by calling its little legs there the lappets. They won't know what to do. They'll probably resign right away.
Sorry, I'm still just laughing at the guy who resigned after agreeing to 1 day of move time per move. and you didn't move immediately.
Yeah, it was so funny because like of course I get credited with a win there. They literally like took a deliberate loss because I was taking a while on a game designed to last a day per move. So, all right. Anything else
Yes.
you'd like to say about the top half of the bishop?
Well, I just kind of gave a little background on why it looks the way it does. Do you have any actual thoughts about it?
Yeah. Okay. I forgot we kind of didn't really get into it, I suppose. So, if the thing that you think about when you look at the base of a bishop is diagonal, the thing you think about when you look at the top of the bishop is just like pure emotional, like raw
Emotion,
chess energy, pure, literal
energy.
pure vibes.
This is big chess energy.
Big chess energy. Absolutely massive chess energy.
I have to say, that is not what I was expecting you to say. I mean, I didn't really have anything that I was like, oh, he's definitely going to say this, but like, definitely it was, if I was going to guess, it was not going to be that.
Yeah. It's really just the phrase you least expect is the most, powerful, and such as the top half of the bishop. It's the half that you least expect.
The top half of the bishop is definitely the personality of the bishop, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think of a bishop, you think of the top half of the bishop. Like in both of the graphics, the image that they used for the bishop was just the top half of the bishop. So, I mean, the top half is definitely... You can understand why top half is ranked number 4 while the bottom half is ranked number 9.
Yeah.
Because the top half is the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Even without the bottom... I mean, it has... Without the bottom half, it's not the bishop, right? Because it can't... The bottom half is the diagonal kind of like core identity of the bishop. But the top half is... everything else. Like, the top half is why we call it a bishop. The top half is how you identify it. The top half is the bishop, but not really, as I just said. Anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments about the bishop?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, it's the pure essence, the distilled vibes. That's why it's number 4.
Indeed it is. All right, we'll interrupt our list one more time for my honorable mention. Now, you're probably wondering what's in the top 3. You're probably thinking of possible chess pieces that could be there. But I'll just take one right out of your mind right now and tell you that my honorable mention is the queen. If you've been paying attention to our list, you can obviously see why the queen wasn't really able to make it. There's just really so many good chess pieces that you can have, that the queen, I mean, as good as the queen is, right? The queen is, a good piece. Honestly, I don't even know how many people really appreciate how good the queen is. Like, the queen, can move forward for sure, is one of the directions it can move. So that fact alone puts it up there as one of the chess pieces. It can move backwards too. So that also really elevates it. Not into the top 10 though, just elevates it.
Let me if it couldn't do that, how low would it be ranked, do you think, out of all possible pieces?
If it couldn't move backwards,
yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What? So like it can move in 7 directions but not 8? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I think it would have to be like, I don't know, at least 17th. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can think of 16 other chess pieces that are better than it if it can't move backwards.
Yeah.
Definitely would not be my honorable mention. I mean, for me, so this top 10 list is a team effort for us to come up with. For me, the queen would be in the top 10, which is why it's my honorable mention. And I understand why we put in the things here that we did. So I'm not mad about that. But the queen is just, real underrated piece, I would say.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. Lots of people do not appreciate just how good the queen is.
And by the way, I'm not a woman, but way to represent women with a powerful piece.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, let's move on to number 3. You want to take us to number 3?
Yeah, that's it. I think we all saw this one coming. Now that we're in the top 3, we're really going to get into those heavy hitters.
I'm pretty sure. By the way, before you say it, I'm pretty sure 90% of people listening to this podcast can already predict what number 3 is going to be.
Yeah, everybody
They've
at
been
home
thinking
has
it the entire time,
just screaming this as soon as we started talking about number 3. Because I mean, if there's one thing more synonymous than chess and the number 3 and this thing, it's got to be, chess.
Nothing. There's nothing more synonymous with number 3 than this thing.
For sure. Yes, and that is why.
What a nonsensical statement.
that is why number 3 is 6 checkers stacked on top of each other in a trench coat. So the thing I most like about when I'm playing chess and I finally get to make a move with 6 checkers stacked on top of each other in a trench coat, is just the look of awe on my opponent's face. When they realize what I've done. I think just the sheer magnitude, it's always such a monumental event.
Monumental. I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the look on my opponent's face when I jump their pieces.
Yeah, for sure.
Diagonally with my 6 checkers stacked on top of each other. And then I get to the other end and I promote it into another king.
Yeah, it is so hard to checkmate 2 kings at once, and that's definitely the primary reason why this is up in number 3. I think truly the only thing holding it back from number 1 is just how difficult it is to get a trench coat that small.
Right, and to keep it around the checker. Excuse me. You really have to finagle that. Wow, that was a big sneeze. You really have to finagle that and use some, I don't know, tape or something. I don't even know how you would do that.
Yeah. I personally like to dip it in some, I don't know, epoxy or something so that it kind of stiffens up a little bit. It's I know it's kind of, amateur stuff, feels like a little bit of a cheap out, right? But it's the only way I've ever been able to do it. Obviously I'm not a grandmaster. They definitely have their secrets, but
right.
Yeah, hopefully one day,
What I like to do is, one of the reasons that it's so hard to put it on is because stacks of checkers don't have arms. What I like to do is I like to just get little arms from Mr. Potato Head sets and just glue them onto the checkers, and that way you can pretty easily wear a trench coat.
That's pretty brilliant. I've never thought to do that. I wonder if anybody's got some purpose-built arms even. I would splurge.
Right. Give me that $400 arm set for my stack of checkers with 5 different collectible arms.
All different hand positions on the arms that you can switch them out for the situation.
You of course have to have the black and red options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the funniest thing to me, the absolute funniest thing, is that the black stack of checkers goes with the white chess set. Of course, that's just hysterical.
No one ever gets that right when they set up the board.
Yeah.
All right, we are over an hour 8 minutes. I think we should keep chugging along here.
Absolutely.
Moving on to number 2. Number 2 chess piece of all time, a 10 kilogram, 18 karat gold rook.
Yes.
So there's a lot of elements here, so I'm just going to break it down. First of all, 10 kilograms, 18 karat gold. You may remember this from our accessories, top 10 accessories video. But really 10 kilograms of 18 karat gold is just, there's something so magical about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just that exact quantity.
Yeah.
It's really something special. And so to take that magical quantity and combine it with one of the top chess pieces, which is a rook, really elevates it to something that can only be number 2. There's only one other piece that could possibly go above this, which I think listeners will all agree once we get to it.
Yeah.
But really, there's not much that can match this this stunning piece.
Yeah. And I know this is a bit obnoxious, so hopefully our listeners aren't going to judge me too harshly for this. But my favorite thing about playing with the 10 kilogram 18 karat gold rook is when I make a move with it, I like to drop it onto its square from about 6 inches up so that it scatters all the other pieces when it lands.
Yeah, cracks the board. Hopefully you're using a mat. I would say for me, just to comment about the rook side of it too,
Yeah.
like outside of the gold, like all the pieces besides the rook are like people, except for like you have the knight, you have the bishop, king, queen, pawn,
Squire.
and then you just have a literal building. Like what a badass! Like it is just a full-on building that is moving around. Can't beat that. That is all I have to say about that.
I've weirdly enough never thought of it that way, and that is hilarious. Actually, they just put a building in the game. That's incredible. That is truly incredible, and the only thing that makes it more incredible is when it's fashioned from 10 kilograms of 18 karat gold specifically.
Indeed.
Cool.
All right, Nathan, bring us to number 1, the top chess piece in the world.
Top chess piece in the world. It is, of course, the only thing it could possibly be, the player himself.
Wow.
What else is there to say about this? I mean, what is the game of chess without its player?
Nothing.
Literally.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Some people talk about how like the king is kind of like the surrogate for the player, because like if you take the king you lose, right?
Right.
Or you win. But like if you're thinking about it that way, then you're just missing the whole point, right? You're missing the player themselves. Like if you admit that the king is important because it's a surrogate of the player, then you're just admitting that the player is more important than the king.
Exactly.
So I would say that there's honestly not too much to say about this one because everyone knew it was coming. It's the only obvious choice for the number 1, and truly a monumental selection right here.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. There's a reason that they award the Grandmaster title on the spot to anyone who is able to capture their opponent as a person with a piece.
Right. And like the fact that, when you said capture, I couldn't help but think of like just throwing a Pokeball at your opponent in the middle of a chess game.
Is that not how they do it? I guess I've never been to like a live chess tournament, but
I feel like Pokemon isn't real, so like Pokeballs aren't real.
They just use a net.
No, not the freak nerd in the net. I'm a cool guy in a net. Can't believe there's another guy in a net around here.
Exactly what I thought about as I was saying that. Incredible.
All right. That is the end of our list. Send us your feedback by emailing us. What do you think of our list? What do you think the top should be in the top 10 that we missed? What do you think that we included that should absolutely not be in the top 10? What about our ordering? And also send us like a chess move, and we'll send you back a chess move.
Yeah, there you go.
And we'll just play a game of chess like that. But it will be very slow, so don't resign immediately. Keep that in mind.
Please be patient. Yeah, what a great idea.
We will only submit one move per episode of the podcast we record.
Yeah, our response to your move will be spoken aloud after we have read your email with your move in it.
Yep. And don't cheat. Don't put the moves in an engine. I mean, obviously we can beat the engine.
Yeah,
but,
it would never work. So.
It would, yeah. All right. Anything else as we wrap up our episode here?
You know what? No, I think we've said literally everything there is to say about the game of chess. Looking forward to this game of Fog of War chess, and you know what? Maybe someday we would do like a top 10 chess variants episode or something like that.
Maybe.
Probably
All right.
only if our listeners
Well-
are actually like interested in chess, though. Otherwise, this might have been too much already.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, our top 10 chess pieces were not that much about chess.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it. Send us an email. Other than that, I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been
Joel.